Hello, it's Morgan. Welcome back to the channel. Back here on YouTube doing my Week 11 Big Ten prediction video series for this week. As I get into Week 11, after going 4-3 in Week number 10, my record improves to 69-14. So pretty good on the year. This week we're going to get our 70th pick correct, is what I'm looking to do this week. And we'll see how that goes. Full slate of games, 7 games in the Big Ten slate. We have 3 games where it's East versus West division matchups this week, and a lot of rivalry matchups as well, and also games that will determine who wins the divisions potentially this weekend as well. So with that being said, let's get into the Week 11 Big Ten prediction video right now, everyone. Starting with this first matchup as we get back into it in the groove of things here on this Thursday. First matchup, Indiana at Illinois on Saturday. And in this matchup, one of the top matchups last week, 2 teams that got wins. Indiana beat Wisconsin. I did pick Wisconsin to win last week. And Indiana beat Wisconsin. And last week, Illinois played Minnesota. I picked Minnesota to win that matchup. So these are 2 teams I did not pick last week, which will be interesting to see. Coming into this matchup, Illinois is playing at home against Indiana. I kind of like Illinois at home this week as a team in the Big Ten West that is trying to stay alive in the Big Ten West race, trying to have a good season. So this week I'm going to take Illinois at home. Both these teams are having down years. I'm taking Illinois at home here to get the win in front of their home crowd on Saturday afternoon. Moving on to another East-West game in the Big Ten. Maryland traveling into Nebraska. Nebraska and Maryland, 2 teams in the Big Ten that are pretty good this season as we get into this matchup to look at. And it's one of those matchups. Nebraska, they're having a pretty good season. They're 1 win away from being bowl eligible in the year. And Maryland, they're right back. They're up there. They're already bowl eligible already going into it. Looking at it. So, if you look at it, Nebraska, they're one of those teams. They're trying to fight for a Big Ten West championship race. And you look at, I look at Nebraska as a team that they've had a good year with their first year head coach, Matt Rule, who's their head coach this year. They're second in the Big Ten West currently with a 5-4 record, so they're pretty much tied with Wisconsin and Minnesota. So it's a 3-team race to decide who gets to win this division. Who's going to try to beat up on Iowa this year. So we'll see what happens the rest of the way with this division race, which is going to turn out to be a fun race to watch. I'm going to take Nebraska to get their 6th win of the year this weekend at home, as I think Maryland's going to drop to 5-5 on the year and have a tough time getting into a bowl game potentially. So I'm taking Nebraska at home to go to 6-4, and also I'm taking Illinois so far to go to 5-5. Moving on to the next matchup in the Big Ten. Michigan coming in at 9-0. Penn State coming in at 8-1. A big matchup potentially to determine who will win the Big Ten East coming into it. And as you look at this matchup on paper, this matchup's one of those matchups where Michigan comes in at 9-0, Penn State comes in at 8-1. There's a chance Michigan, Penn State, Ohio State, that all 3 teams will be 11-1 at the end of the year. Only way that happens is if Penn State can upset Michigan this week. Then Penn State would also have to beat Ohio State, I think. Or Michigan would have to beat Ohio State. Michigan would have to beat Ohio State for that to happen, for all 3 teams to finish 11-1. Unfortunately, I don't see Michigan losing this matchup. I think Michigan's going to run away pretty easily with it, with this win. So taking Michigan on the road at Penn State, I think give Penn State their 2nd loss of the season, as I think Michigan's going to get to 10-0 this Saturday. Moving on to the next matchup. Like I said again, 5-4 Minnesota coming in. They're going to go into Purdue, who comes in at 2-7 on the year. A matchup that Minnesota is looking to get a win. I think Minnesota will win, in fact, because Purdue's not doing very good this year. Minnesota's going to be one of those games this week where Minnesota gets a big win. And so if that happens, Minnesota's going to be 6-4, right up there in the Big Ten West, and stay alive for Big Ten West title. They'd still have 2 games remaining after this one. Purdue, they're one of those teams. It's a building year in their first year head coach after their coach left to go back to where he went to college at Louisville. So Purdue, they're one of those teams. I don't know what's going to happen the rest of the year, but I do think Minnesota gets a win this weekend, gets a 6-4, becomes bowl eligible, as they will win on Saturday. Moving on to our next matchup, Big Ten West. Staying out west, as Northwestern, 4-5, travels to Madison, Wisconsin to play the Wisconsin Badgers. Yeah, the Wisconsin Badgers coming into this matchup 5-4. Northwestern coming in at 4-5. Surprisingly, Northwestern is staying alive in the Big Ten West when they were supposed to win one game this year. And if this matchup ends up being a game where Northwestern wins and Wisconsin loses, both teams will be 5-5. And Northwestern will be 1 win away from going to a bowl game, which they weren't supposed to win. They were only supposed to win like one game, Northwestern, going into this year. They've had a good season, 4-5 so far, but it's a road game. They have to travel to Madison, which I think will be a dogfight. I think this matchup is going to be one of those matchups where it's going to come down to whichever offense, Wisconsin or Northwestern, whichever team has the ball last, of course. And with that being said, I think Wisconsin's going to get the win at home, get to 6-4. Just like I think Minnesota and Nebraska get their 6 wins of the year, and make the Big Ten West a wide open race still after this week. So I'm taking Wisconsin to get the win at home against Northwestern on Saturday. Moving on to the next matchup. Our last East and West game. Rutgers coming in at 6-3, 3-3 overall in the conference, having to travel to Iowa. 7-2, 4-2 in the Big Ten. Yes, this is right. Iowa, 7-2 in the Big Ten. One of the worst near the bottom of the country in total offense. And they're still in first place in the Big Ten West. Shocking that Iowa has done surprising things. Their defense is keeping them in games, but sooner rather than later, the defense for Iowa is going to fail to score points and fail to get the job done, unfortunately. And that could happen this weekend against a team in Rutgers that's already 6-3 and already bowl eligible. That could happen this weekend, but Rutgers also doesn't have a good offense. They have a pretty good defense. Both these defenses are in the top 10 in total defense in the country from what I've seen, or what I've read. And you can't look at this. You can look at this game and say it's going to be defensive plays that makes one of these two teams win. I think Iowa playing at home, it's going to be a hard place for Rutgers to go into. Last time Rutgers came into Iowa City, Iowa got the win. But, personally, it's a matchup that's going to be interesting to see. Iowa's offense can't even do a thing. They can't score. They have to rely on their punter, Torrey Taylor, who's having to punt a lot this year. And I think it's going to come down to whichever team can control the game this weekend. I think Iowa's going to get a big win, get to 8-2, but barely get it. They're barely going to get a win. It's going to be like a one-score game, most likely, at the end of the day on Saturday in Iowa City. Looking at that, and I'll be there at the game. I'll have some videos for you all coming up on Saturday night, so stay tuned for that. Coming up this week on Saturday night. Moving on to our last matchup of the weekend. Michigan State coming in at 3-6 on the year, having to travel to Columbus, Ohio to play the Ohio State Buckeyes. 9-0, the last 9-0 team in the Big Ten. But as I said, 2 Big Ten teams, 9-0 this week, which is going to set up a matchup potentially at the end of the year for a second straight year, where both Ohio State and Michigan are 11-0. But looking at this, Michigan State, they've had a tough year. Last week, their interim head coach got a win against Nebraska for his first win as interim head coach. And Ohio State, they had a game last week where they can score. And coming into the game, Ohio State's ranked number 1 in the country. This is going to be a matchup where I think Ohio State's going to dominate a 3-6 Michigan State team and get a big win. I'm not sure. I don't know how many points Michigan State's going to give up. But if Michigan State can keep it close and maybe get to 4-6, that would be interesting to see. It's going to be a fun game to watch. I'm going to take Ohio State, though, at home to get the big win on Saturday in Columbus, as I think the Buckeyes go to 10-0 as well. And with that being said, that is the Week 11 Big Ten predictions. A quick recap of who I'm taking. First off, I'm taking Illinois at home against Indiana. After that, I'm taking Nebraska at home in Lincoln against Maryland. Moving on from Nebraska over to Penn State and Happy Valley. We're taking Michigan over Penn State, so not so Happy Valley this weekend, I think. In West Lafayette, Indiana, I'm taking Minnesota over Purdue. In Madison, Wisconsin, I'm taking the Badgers over Northwestern, which will be a close game this week. In Iowa City, I'm taking Iowa over Rutgers, which I think will be a one-score game at most, since both teams have bad offenses and their defenses are both pretty good. So it's going to be a one-score game there in Iowa this weekend. And lastly but not least, this last game in Columbus, Ohio. I think Ohio State's going to take control and beat Michigan State and most likely remain number 1 in the country. With that being said, you've been watching the Big Ten prediction videos for week number 11. And I will see you right back here next Thursday for week 12 Big Ten prediction videos right back here. With that being said, you know what to do. Please remember to watch, like, subscribe. Don't forget to tell your friends to do the same if they have not done so yet already. Also, don't forget to hit that notification button below so you know when there's a new video on the channel. With that being said, have a nice day. Stay safe and peace out. And bye for now. See ya next time, everyone. Bye.